Hi guys! I wanted to talk a little bit about one of the resources that I have relied on and used a lot in my choice to transition to a plant-based lifestyle. And that is Dr. Campbell. He wrote The China Study, and he was a big part of Forks Over Knives documentary. And I just watched the newest one, Plant Pure Nation, which was by him and his son and a few other doctors. But he's been a very leading source in bringing up plant-based lifestyle. Now, a little bit of background on those resources and the information he provides is when people are diagnosed with cancer, diabetes, heart disease, all that stuff, that's a leading killer in America. The United States just automatically goes to here's a pill, here's chemo, here's radiation, yada yada yada. Something that's just it's worse. It has a worse side effect on our health. Now, what Dr. Campbell has come up with is the fact that if we were to prescribe a plant-based lifestyle, it would help, if not yet reverse, those diseases. And it's really insane because he's tried to take it to legislation, and it got knocked down because of certain industries. It has not entered any kind of legislation because of that, because the government cannot make money off of a plant-based lifestyle prescription. It can make money, though, off of drugs. And but what's interesting in Pure Plant Nation is they did a 10-day study, 10 days, very, very limited, a 10-day study where they took all these people from, I believe it was Kentucky, so they took like the leading state of child obesity, and they collected volunteers to do a 10-day plant-based diet. And these people were, meat and potatoes, they were cattle farmers, people who just grew up on very southern comfort food. So it wasn't like they went to California and took somebody who was already eating pretty healthy. So they took these people and did a 10-day study on giving them a plant-based diet. And they drew their blood, did all their numbers, if they were, their bad cholesterol was high and everything like that, blood pressure. And then after the 10 days, they did the same test. And within 10 days, these people's numbers dropped in half. And these people are borderline diabetic or had already gone through heart attacks. So right there, that's proof that our food is going to heal us. And the fact that, what we're putting into our body can cause these major diseases. It's really eye-opening. And, what a lot of Dr. Campbell says is that pretty much we're all born and formed with our genes, right? And so however we decide to treat our body is what will trigger things. So your diet, your lifestyle can trigger cancer, autoimmune diseases. And then of course, you can take on heart disease, diabetes, obesity, all these different things. And pretty much it's your lifestyle that's going to trigger those. So if you were to lead a more plant-based lifestyle, you're going to reverse those things. You're going to feel better. And this is no push to say that everybody needs to be plant-based, but at least taking, I always at least suggest living a more plant-based lifestyle. And it's funny is that, only within the last probably 50, 60 years have these diseases really become apparent in our society. In the 50s, cancer was not really around. And that's because we as Americans were only eating and consuming about this much animal product. Plus we were doing it a lot more organically, the farming practices were. Whereas now it's our numbers are up to here with all the cancer statistics and diabetes and autoimmune diseases and depression and just all these crazy diseases that just were never even a problem before. And that's because of our food. That's because of how they are farming them. That is because of what they are injecting them with. And because we're eating more of it. We're eating more animal products than we were 50, 60 years ago. And that's because the government has come in and put more money into those industries because it makes them money. The meat and dairy industries make them money. And when people eat more of those products and become sick, that makes them money. So it's just really crazy to even think about it like that. That's what was the biggest eye-opener for me when I decided to make the transition. I was just appalled at like what the food was doing to my body and the fact that why our society and culture was pushing this kind of diet and lifestyle. So if anything, I would look up and watch Forks Over Knives and the Pure Plant Nation. Those two documentaries are really like both hand in hand, like go over the same stuff. And it's really informative and it's really interesting to just look at from a different perspective our food industry and our health and the government and everything that goes into it. So if you're somebody who might suffer from an autoimmune disease, might suffer from a heart disease in your family or even yourself, or cancer or diabetes, any of that stuff, it probably touches even more, touches on you guys more than, say, somebody who's not dealing with it. I have a lot of autoimmune diseases that run in my husband's family and my family. I was diagnosed with anxiety and panic attacks, and guess what? They wanted to give me pills right away. Here, take a daily pill. Here, take a Xanax. And no one ever talked to me about, like, my lifestyle, how I was eating, or anything like that. And I didn't want to take pills. So I looked for every other thing I could do that was not in pill form. And, I did cut back on, I stopped drinking. I limited my sugar intake. I started yoga. So I did start those things on my own. I was still not vegan. I was still eating animal products. But once I did transition to vegan years later, this is probably 4 years later after I was diagnosed, I now, being pregnant, can completely deal with anxiety and don't have panic attacks anymore. And I strongly believe it's because of my lifestyle choices. And that's just my experience, my example. But there's far more, harder things out there like cancer and heart disease and diabetes that take on even more medications and are even more of a health risk than what I've dealt with. But I know plenty of people who have been dealt that hand, and it's really scary. So, a lot of information. I don't want to make the video too long because I want to overwhelm you guys. But yes, look up Forks Over Knives, Pure Plant Nation. Watch those documentaries. I love your feedback. If you have any questions for me, please post them in the notes below or private message me, whatever you feel comfortable with. I'm an open book. I always share my experiences and my suggestions and, whatever I can with you guys. So, happy Sunday. Bye.